Marie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to, I think this is our fourth secret that we are sharing in this series of Shocker Secrets to Success. My name is Kim Sandlin. I am the Director of Student Success here at WSU. And if you've joined us before, we're probably two faces that have become familiar to you. Last time we were in masks with some technical difficulties. Now we are in our separate locations, so we're back to somewhat of a normal here. But today's topic is really about, again, a little bit more academic focus and some tips and tricks for you, talking about just some importance of being ready with your assignments, being on time for class, how to build that professor relationship, student-professor relationship that is productive and appropriate and professional. Those kinds of things. So that's the kind of information we're going to share with you today. I've been in my role for a number of years, been at the university for about 23, first-gen student and a proud Shocker alum. So with that, I will send it over to my friend Alicia for her quick introduction, and then we'll get down to business.
So Alicia Newell, the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs here at WSU, and I've been in my role going on almost 17 years now. A proud Shocker alum as well, just like Kim, also first gen. And so I love what I get to do on a daily basis, and that's serve you, our students, and really being able to help unlock the hidden talents and passions that maybe you have yet to discover. Also help meet you where you're at and get you to where you need to be by sharing some of these tips and tricks through what we're calling Shocker Secrets to Success. And so thank you for joining us.
All right. So today we want to talk a little bit about some classroom etiquette, behavior kinds of stuff, relationships between students and professors, and why that's really, really important. I just came from a meeting where we were talking about this very thing, how sometimes our students feel a little intimidated or overwhelmed with the idea of communicating or requesting a meeting with their professor or instructor, when sometimes our faculty are just waiting for students to come and ask for help or just engage in a conversation. Our faculty care deeply about the success of their students, whether they're in their field professionally or not. I think we're a unique campus in that we have a lot of faculty who really are focused on lots of academic research and publications, but also who understand the type of students that are on our campus, many of whom are first gen. We're about 45% now of our undergraduate population are first gen students and may not have the help at home or the expertise around them immediately who can kind of navigate that professor-student relationship. And so our professors do a really, really great job of trying to adapt to the needs of our students in their classrooms and also make themselves available for questions and engagement outside of the classroom. So I'm talking a lot about that today, but the first number one tip here that we're sharing today is to be, well, first of all, you need to attend your classes. Attend. No matter if you are, if you're in some kind of hybrid format, if you're in person, if you are online, it is important that you show up. Sometimes we don't feel the greatest, and we get that, and it's becoming, cold and flu season and all of that on top of everything else. And we get that. Sometimes you just don't feel the greatest, but you've got to make the effort. You got to push through. You got to show up. That's half the battle. Attendance is critical to your academic success. And right now, attendance is a little difficult to do sometimes and manage, and your faculty members are doing what they can to kind of check attendance there. But that is number one. You've got to log on. You've got to participate. You have to be engaged. Alicia?
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind that's a little different from maybe high school is missing one class is equivalent to missing 1 week. And so just putting it into context, how much you're going to have to make up just by missing that one class. And also, when Kim talks about showing up and being on time, that means not logging into your Zoom session, 10 minutes after it started, or leaving the computer, going to do other things and coming back, but it's being present and making sure that you are scheduling time to sit down, that you're focused, and that you're actually engaging. And so that means having your camera on, actually participating in the chat and asking questions. One of the things that I'll share is, in talking with your instructors and being present, it also allows you, by going to class and being on time or a little early, you're able to engage on a different level with your faculty as well as your classmates. And so if there's something that maybe you didn't understand, or maybe you need a little bit more clarification on, that's a great opportunity to maximize that extra time you've allocated to be able to get some of those questions asked and answered.
That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. Not logging on when class begins. If you do that, chances are you're probably going to be a little bit late, right? Your faculty member, your instructor expects you to be ready, logged on, camera on, ready to participate when class starts. If it's 9:30, you ought to be no later than 9:20, logging up your computer, getting it all ready to go. Earlier if you can, understand if you can't, that's fine. But if you're just turning your computer on at 9:30 and your class starts at 9:30, you're late, right? So you've got to kind of work that back in your schedule. And while we're talking about schedules, we had a very exciting delivery on campus. Alicia is showing our the planners, the student planners that are free for students. You can pick them up in many places across campus. That time management piece, we've talked about it before. It is, again, another critical piece that you all probably need to work on, probably focus on a little bit, especially if you are in a majority of your work is online. You've got to reserve that time in your schedule for every class like that. So you've got to get that structure down. And these planners, if you're a paper and pencil and pen planner and like all of those goodies, journaling and that kind of thing, we've got them for you. So please take advantage. Did you want to mention something?
Yeah. No, I think Kim and I, in our time here at Wichita State, time management consistently seems to be the number one challenge that most of our students, especially our first year students, really struggle with. And so if you find yourself struggling with time management, or that there doesn't seem to be enough time in the day to get homework done, to, and again, we go back to, and we talked about this on another segment, was there's a difference between homework and studying, and how much time you're taking to study versus doing the homework. And so we talk about reading the material before you get to class in order to be prepared. And so if your instructor says, read chapters 3 through 5 for Wednesday, and you're like, okay, well, I have Wednesday. Well, no, that really should be read Tuesday, ready for discussion in class on Wednesday. And the one thing that causes a lot of anxiety for students is when an instructor is not getting that level of engagement. I typically will call on to students and say, hey, Kim, so tell me what you think about this. The worst thing is to be called upon and be like, I didn't read. That's not what we want to hear. But making sure that you're aware of what is, I guess, in the context for that class. And so writing it down, and just because you write it down, it doesn't do a whole lot if you don't go back and you check it. And so making sure that you have a process, and whether it's a planner, whether it's using your phone, we talked a lot about, different methods to making sure you're managing your time. And if it's something you struggle with, meet with your success coach. That is a phenomenal resource for them to sit down and really talk about, how do you even schedule time for you? because often that's something that we struggle with. And so, again, you can pick up your planner, personal copy, at the Radigan Student Center at the info desk. You can pick it up in RSC room 231, Shocker Hall, any of the resident hall front desk, also Campus Rec over in the Heskett Center, the library, you name it, they're out and about on campus.
Great, thank you. Definitely want to mention the Success Coach help there. If you're having trouble keeping yourself organized, if you need help just to kind of check in, get everything straight, get your priorities and look at your to-do list for the week or whatever, if you need a little bit of help in getting that on and staying on track, we can help you with that. We can help you with a peer coach through our Shocker Learning Center, or we can help you with a Success Coach who's a staff member in our office. So we're happy to help you through getting yourself organized and staying on top of it, because you can get yourself organized, but staying on top of it, that's the other half of the battle, right? So across the screen there, you see our website, wichita.edu/success. You can find your success coach. We have a coach that's assigned to every academic college who can help you out. So you can find out who your success coach is on that website. And then we also have, I wanted to mention before we move on to Blackboard here, we have a section of our website that is dedicated to study skills, and one area is time management. So thank you, Em, for putting up our website. If you'll do me a quick favor and go all the way to the bottom, past this section, yep, where that light bulb is, right there. You don't have to click on it, but that study tips right there, that's where you can find time management, note-taking, test prep, things like that. Some really great tips and tricks linked right there. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. The time management one is going to give you a breakdown of how many hours you have in a week. And then it walks you through how many hours are you in class? How many hours are you studying? How many hours are you working? How many hours do you sleep? Because we know sleep is important to academic success. We know good nutrition is important to academic success. So that kind of breaks that down for you so you can see how you're spending your time and how much time you have left or not left. Maybe you have negative time balance, but if you're thinking through really segmenting out your time and dedicating that time to class so that you are logging on early, staying through and engaged the entire time, giving reactions, doing the little thumbs up or hand clap or raising your hand or monitor on for a little while, or however you do that to signal that you are engaged in class. Okay, we're going to switch gears here a little bit to Blackboard and why that is such an important tool for you and to use between you and your professor. So our Blackboard website is right there on the screen, blackboard.wichita.edu, and you can visit that website. You're going to log into your classes, and hopefully by this time you have been receiving some feedback from your professors on how well you have been performing on your assignments, or how well you have done on quizzes or exams or whatever the case may be for that class. There are a number of ways to find that information, but it's critical that you know how to find the feedback from your professors, because oftentimes they're giving secrets on how to improve your academic work, to improve your grade, to maximize your potential for success in the class. So we want to make sure that you know about that and how to find that. And I'm going to have Em show our website here again real quick on screen. Thank you. If you'll scroll up a little bit, go up on the page just a little bit right there to the Shocker Secrets to Success. She's right on that. That's our link to our series of videos that we have throughout the semester. But the one right next to it is the Blackboard help videos. That is where, if you'll click on that for me, Em. If you click on that Blackboard help videos, that's going to bring up a playlist of videos, and you'll see the very first video on there. I think it's about 5 minutes. So quick snapshots of navigation in Blackboard, viewing comments and feedback in Blackboard. don't click on it, Em, here. But if you were to click on it, it would start a video and show you the different areas within Blackboard where you can find the comments from your professors. The other great thing about this playlist that our friends in IDA, so that the IDA stands for Instructional Design and Access, they've put together this playlist for students. So if you don't know how to do something in Blackboard, these are the most common things that students usually struggle with, especially if they haven't used Blackboard before and they're not used to a learning management system like that. So viewing comments and feedback in Blackboard, you can also learn how to send an email to other students in your classes. So this is great if you are interested in forming study groups. Maybe you want to form a study group and 3 and 4 of you want to come to campus while the weather is beautiful and sit out on the lawn and attend class together, distanced and safely that way. There are a number of reasons why you may want to reach out and make those connections, which we know are important to your happiness and your success. But all of these videos here can walk you through submitting an assignment, putting discussion or posting to a discussion board, all great stuff. And they put this together because they knew that students were needing kind of fast, quick access and answers. And so they put that together for us. So we really want to give a shout out to the folks in the Media Resources Center in the IDA area for putting that together for our students. So thanks for showing that, Em. Alicia, did you want to add anything to that?
I think the one thing to keep in mind when it comes to Blackboard is don't be afraid to click around in there. I know going back to school or even just getting into the habit of getting into a new platform sometimes can feel a little overwhelming. And a lot of times students say, well, I don't want to click on something because I don't want to mess anything up. You're not going to mess it up. And if you do, we would have already fixed it by now. And so feel free to click around and really just get comfortable with it. At any time, if you feel like, hey, like I did something, you can always go to One Stop. You can go to call them. You can call the help desk, and that's 316-978-HELP. And they can also help walk you through any kind of issues or challenges that you're facing within Blackboard. But a tool that I really love in Blackboard is it's actually on the left-hand side under Tools, which is directly under My Grades. And if you click on the Tools button when you're in there, you can click on the class roster. You can also create groups and send an email to your class. And the benefit of this is that you're able to formulate study groups without having to directly ask anybody in class, which sometimes can be a little intimidating. And so a lot of times being able just to be the first one saying, hey, does anybody want to get together? And so example, one of my classes, our instructor said, hey, we're not having class next week because it's going to be a writing week. And so, we have, free time. And we're like, oh, we still want to meet because we internally have questions. And so we use that time to still get together. And not everybody meets, but those who do need support and clarification or just, hey, I need support going through this and staying motivated, they log on and meet. And so maximize those tools that are in the platform because they're really there to help you be successful and benefit you as a student.
Absolutely. As Alicia said, if it can be broken by now, it would have been broken. So I think, too, something I mentioned actually in the parent discussion that we had yesterday online, talked about, you can't delete something by mistake. So if you double click in something, the worst thing it's going to do is, give you some kind of error or just open another window or something like that. You can't delete content. Your instructors don't give you the ability to do that. So they protect their class a little bit, and Blackboard protects classes because everybody has a specific role within the class, and that allows them to do certain things. So you can't delete anything for the rest of your classmates. You can't really mess that up. There's a lot of controls on that, but you want to use the tools. Well, you may not want to, but we're telling you should get to know your tools that are available to you right there from the Blackboard platform. So the last thing that we want to talk with you all a little bit about is the student to professor relationship, and why that's important, and how to kind of approach your professors. Alicia mentioned, sometimes it's easier to send an email than it is to have a face-to-face or screen-to-screen conversation. And that's, certainly true. It's a little lower risk, but keep in mind, every communication that you have with a professor, whether that is in the chat of a Zoom course or another platform, that is a reflection of you and how seriously you are taking your student academic experience. So emailing professors, participating in the chat, participating on discussion boards. You should not be writing on those as though you were sending a text message. We see that all the time. Use proper capitalization. A lot of the students that I work with are brand new students making that transition, and it's amazing how many students just don't capitalize the word I, and who may have you are. No, that's not appropriate writing for college level, even in just email and some kind of lower level, more casual conversation. And the reason is because these folks can often end up being references for you for scholarships, and they really want to see you put your best foot forward, and the more effort you put in, the more you're going to get back from that relationship. I'll let you jump in here, Alicia.
Yeah. I think in regards to, building strong relationships with professors is knowing that a lot of them are really eager and waiting for you to reach out. And it really takes just that one time to cultivate a relationship. And I'm guilty of this myself. And it's kind of like, practice what you preach. And I was struggling with some content. And I was like, oh, and a classmate was like, well, have you talked to, the instructor? And I ended up calling him on his cell phone because he gave us his cell phone. And I was like, oh, I was really apprehensive and nervous. And we had a 30 to 45 minute conversation. And everything that I had that was like anxiety overload, that I was just feeling really overwhelmed about, he put it all to ease and told me I was really overthinking what the project was. And so I share that with you because it's really something that you have to get over. And you have to get over your fear of like, well, I don't want to be the only one asking for help, or I don't want to be the one. Like, what if it's a dumb question? There's no such thing as a dumb question, right? And so even, I really challenge you to look at when they have student hours or office hours available, and go in and, request a Zoom meeting, call them, and really try to, even if you don't have anything to say, at max, just say, I really like this part of what we've learned so far, or this is what I'm really nervous about coming up in chapter whatever. And that way they're getting to know you, one, on a more personal level, but two, you're able to start having, barriers that will open up lines of communication on a completely different level. I think in the students that I know, on a personal level, it's a different relationship with them. And so like Kim said, when we're writing letters of recommendation, whether it's for grad school or for a job or for a leadership position or an award, a lot of times, not only do they want to know, the stuff that's in a resume, that's all great. But a lot of times what they're wanting us to speak on is the student's character. What makes them different from everybody else in the class? Is it someone who stands out? Well, if you never talk to me, I'm not going to know any of that. And so making sure you find time to, to do that. And not only necessarily with your professors, but also maybe with your tutors or other people on campus that can provide that extra layer of support for you.
Yes, I would also add, as you're getting the confidence up to send that email, you might not know how to address your professor. But what do you call your professor? It's always safe to use the word professor and then the last name. I, for instance, do not have a PhD, but the amount of students who write Dr. Sandlin, I'm like, oh, I wish, but no. And that's fine. And it doesn't bother me. And I know that's hard to navigate, but it's better to kind of overshoot a little bit, right? Not every instructor on campus has a PhD, so not everybody is a doctor and then the last name. But that's very hard for you as a student to know, and to know what the differences are in the levels of education and the credentials of instructors and all of that. So it's always a safe bet to say Professor Sandlin or something like that. So until they tell you how they would like to be addressed, that's always a safe way. And they may not. It just kind of depends on the instructor and how they feel. But it's always easy to use that as a introduction to an email. And then you want to make sure that you're identifying who you are. A lot of times we get messages on the phone. Yeah, I have a question on such and such, so please give me a call back. And you didn't leave me your name, you didn't leave me your number, so I can't do all the appropriate kind of pre-work that I would do to be prepared to have the conversation with you. So we have to go over that on the phone. And so when you can email that and provide that information, hey, I am in your Intro to Sociology course on Mondays and Wednesdays at 9:30. And I just wanted to see if you would have a few minutes to talk to me about the last assignment. I was a little bit confused. Very short, simple, factual, to the point. And then you can always, sign off as sincerely, take care, whatever that official closing is, and then your name. Sometimes you might want to feel like you want to include your ID. Sometimes that's helpful. You don't have to. If the professor has which class you're in and your full name, your first and last name, that should be enough to identify, who is it that's emailing me and needs the help? Because most likely they'll go and look you up in the class to see, okay, let's see, what have we done? What's the kind of the history of the engagement of the student in my class? So those kinds of things you want to keep in mind when you are emailing your professors and requesting their time. So.
Yeah. One thing that I'm going to go back to when talking about feedback on assignments. When you have a test or a quiz and they give you back your test, if you miss more than, a certain amount and you really studied and you're like, man, like I thought I knew this, and they don't provide feedback or comments, schedule a time. That is a perfect opportunity for you to schedule time to meet with your faculty member and saying, hey, even if it's just one question, hey, because I could be the one question that the next chapters build off of. And so making sure that you have a thorough understanding of why did I miss this and what is it? And even if it was, I really studied and I just bombed. Okay, this is how I studied. Now we're not going to ask them what's on the test. Do not do that. I would say ask them, this is how I prepared for the exam. What do you think I can do different in order to better be prepared for the next time around? That is something that they could definitely help you with. And so making sure that you also are seeking that feedback from your instructors if it's not provided to you, because that is something that can definitely help you kind of grow moving forward in how you succeed in your classes. And knowing that it's okay to ask them for feedback. A lot of times, they're like, oh yeah, well, I thought, or it could be a conversation, but making sure that you're being proactive and you're seeking that information out if it's not given to you.
Absolutely. Another great tip, Alicia, you reminded me when you were talking about that. When you get an assignment back or a test back, really, I'm talking more tests than anything else. Look at the test and what you got right and what you missed. That is a critical piece to strong study skills too, because a lot of times, again, that feedback, now, you may not be having paper and pen tests, they might be electronic, but to go back and review, not just, oh, great, I got a 75 on the exam or whatever, but see where you missed information. That's a great indicator of gaps that you may have in your notes. Areas like Alicia said that you may need to, that's a hint on maybe how you need to study differently. But that conversation, that follow-up conversation, in quick time relative to when you got that feedback, right? You don't wait 3 weeks and then be like, oh, can we talk about the last test? Not interested in that. I'm moving on. So you need, within a few days, within a week, say, can you help me understand the content that I missed or didn't understand? Or, is there a different way that I need to be writing my answers in your essay that could be better for the future? And they can give you that feedback, and they should be giving you that feedback as well, particularly if you take the time to approach them, ask them, that is number one signal that you are interested in doing well in their course. And, many, many, many more times than not, 9 out of 10 or 9.9 out of 10 times, that faculty member, that instructor is going to help you through that next spot. If you're just too overwhelmed and you're like, oh, I don't think that I really am on the same wavelength as my professor. Again, a success coach can help, but your professor is really the number one resource for your academic success and review in feedback and performance. So, all right. Well, I think that is the last topic. Sorry, I'm going over here to look at my list here. The last topic that we have. Alicia, would you add anything else that you can think of?
No, I think, I think that's pretty much it. I think the biggest thing is making sure that you feel comfortable in your classes. If you feel overwhelmed, knowing where to go to ask for help. And like Kim said, your instructor should be the number one person you're contacting. Outside of that, go to your advisor, your success coach, and have those conversations. Also, when we talk about being on time for class, advising starts here pretty soon for spring enrollment. And so if you notice, man, I'm missing all of my 8 a.m. classes because I'm sleeping in, maybe that's something we take in consideration for next semester, because guess what? You're in charge of your schedule and you get to choose what time you go to class. And so making sure that you're taking all of those things in consideration to truly set yourself up for success moving forward.
I would add one last thing. We always have, I'll add one last thing. We'll add one last thing. We promise we'll end this here pretty soon. When you're looking ahead and doing your academic planning for the future, those critical conversations with your advisors, making sure you're on track, making sure you're in the right classes, even if you're not required to see your advisor, which many, many, many of you will be required to do. We encourage you to do that just to make sure you are good to go. What your friend did last year, what your older sibling did 3 years ago may not be the same. Academic programs change from year to year and they adjust a little bit. And that's a good thing, because that means that we're academically preparing you for the latest and the greatest in terms of research and information in your field. So embrace that opportunity to have that conversation with your advisor. The other thing I wanted to mention, I feel like, ever since March and the world changed a little bit, everyone's attitudes towards phone calls and actually picking up their phone has improved. I feel like a lot of people send, if they don't recognize the call, or used to be, they don't recognize the number, they're sending it to voicemail. here's the other really annoying thing as someone who calls a lot of students. If your voicemail is full, you need to be deleting some stuff out. You got to make some room for messages to be given to you. If your voicemail is not set up, you need to get that set up. All right. We've got to have a way to communicate by phone and by email. Again, a lot of your success is dependent upon you and the level to which you engage yourself with the information being sent to you. I was talking earlier in a meeting, students are requesting help. We're telling them how to get help, but they're not reading how to get help, and they're saying they're not getting any help, which is not true. So just another plug with your email and your phone that are very, very important ways to communicate. Be engaged, read the information sent to you, make sure that you are, getting the help that you're asking for. So, all right. With that, I think we'll wrap it up for today. I don't see any comments, but we'll, be around as always. You're welcome to contact Alicia or me if you need any assistance. You can find my information online at wichita.edu/success, or you can email me directly at kim.sandlin@wichita.edu. And with that, we're going to sign off. So thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you in our next segment. Enjoy the week.